This is Chuck Huber, the voice of Android 17. You're listening to Anime Seekers. You better be, or I'm coming for you. Dragon of the Darkness, Flame!
Toku Secrets is a podcast run by the Anime Secrets website. Check us out at animesecrets.org for more anime, video game, tokusatsu content. Remember to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts today.
Oh, yes. This is Goldar, and you're listening to Toku Secrets Podcast. Don't tune us out, tune us in.
Welcome to Toku Secrets. Join us as we journey into the marvelous world of Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Power Rangers, and many other tokusatsu. Get ready for the adventure of a lifetime. It's Morphin time! Link to the Morphin. I'm Nathan Desai, the dazzling adventurer, Boken Silver.
I'm Patrick Allen, I'm Shinken Red.
And I'm Ridwan Merchant, Gokai Red.
And I'm Anthony Davis, also known as Curie Green. And we're Toku Secrets.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome once again to the Toku Secrets Podcast, presented by animesecrets.org. And today we are once again returning to the current Sentai that is airing, our sixth podcast on it, Bakuage Sentai Boonboomger. We're taking a look at episodes 19 through 23 today. So we're just a couple of podcasts closer to getting all caught up here. So with that said, we got a lot to talk about. So let's jump right in. Last batch of episodes, we got introduced to our sixth ranger, Boon Violet. Who is Boon Violet, you might ask? Well, he is a human named Sakito Homura. He lost his parents as a young child, and he felt lonely and felt like he didn't belong on Earth, so he opted to abandon the planet, and he encountered Bune Diesel. He's an old teammate and racing rival of Boon Boon's. And then he arrived back on Earth as a fixer / cleaner of the universe, which, for the record, this is something that Riz... I don't think we mentioned this on screen in the podcast when we were recording, but apparently there was a dispute over the subs because the ones that Riz was watching had him labeled as a fixer, and the ones that I saw had him labeled as a cleaner. I actually asked my wife to give me the word, and it's kind of a weird word that she said, where it's almost like the terminology is like someone who is like a hitman of some sort or something. So I don't know, like it's a very complicated word because sometimes words in the Japanese language can be a little complicated, and hence why, there's two different meanings in the subtitles. But anyway, he was using a Formula race car like controller device called the Boom Boom controller, which allows him to become Boon Violet. The controller was created by Boom Boom, by the way. And Bune is also Bune Diesel was also his personal mech, Bune Mach, which can transform into Bune Mach Robo. He was initially hostile and wanted to abandon Earth again, but then he made friends with Taiya, who related to him over his personal struggles, and that brings us to where we are now. In Bakuage 19, Amano Gawa and the Path to Heaven, which is this is mostly a filler episode where the Boonboomgers, they're wanting to celebrate Tanabata, which is a holiday in Japan in July, and this holiday brings back some bad memories from Boon Boon because this holiday has some connections to the Milky Way galaxy, and it kind of gives him some bad memories. Something that I kind of mentioned at the end of the previous one, but this is kind of something to note. I kind of said that Sakito was kind of joined the Boonboomgers, but that's not actually the case. He's not quite on like Naoto from Time Ranger, where he's just completely separate, but he's not quite on the level of someone like Uchi from Kyoryuger, where he's just straight up like a member of the team. He's kind of somewhere in between. Like, he's not living with them, but he's not hostile toward them either. And we also get a new formation in this episode called the Wing Boonboomger Robo, where Bune is able to transfer his wings to the Boonboomger Robo. Kind of similar to what the Mega Winger did to the Mega Voyager in Mega Ranger / Power Rangers in Space. But yeah, that about wraps up the information on this episode. What do we think about this? Go ahead.
So I liked it because it gives some more background into Boon Boon's like background, and it gives more of a background also for Boon D and Sakito and like that entire backstory. So I thought that was pretty awesome. I'm not sure how I feel about Wing Boonboomger Robo though, because
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
it just seemed a little lazy, in my opinion. Like, yeah, we have wings on one, so let's transfer to the other one. I kind of wish they did something more interesting with that combination.
Yeah, but hopefully we'll get to see. I mean, we haven't gotten to it thus far, but hopefully we'll get to a point where Bune, where Bune Mock Robo is able to combine more with Boonboomger Robo. I'm hoping we get to that point.
Yeah, that'd be really awesome.
But Patrick, do you want to add anything? Is Patrick even there?
Sorry, I had someone walking on me.
I thought you couldn't find the mute button.
No, I had.
Which is a very common thing that I hear at work when I'm in telemeetings. Is they'll always say, "Oh, sorry, I couldn't get myself off of mute. I couldn't find the mute button." I'm like, the mute button's in the same place it is every day. Like, you can find it.
Yeah, no, someone walked in on me and talked to me for a little bit. Yeah, I mean, everybody else.
What were you going to say though?
Everybody else said what I was thinking too. I mean, I don't really have many thoughts on this episode, to be honest with you. It was pretty basic to me.
I liked it.
Not bad, but compared to some of the episodes we just got done talking about the last couple of podcasts, it was kind of hollow.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem is like you're hitting that streak of like,
yeah, but this season,
they're good episodes, but they don't add a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, up to this point, I think this season can, get away with having one or two of those.
You can afford it, yeah, definitely. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's something that we're seeing in this episode and one other in the batch we have right now.
Yeah.
What about Anthony?
I liked it so far. There really isn't a lot to say really, because I pretty much said what I want to say either. So
yeah, the one thing I'll say I appreciate about this episode though is that it's not a cliched type of plot, because usually, so here's the thing, this is the immediate episode after Sixth Ranger makes some kind of peace with the team. It's always a cliched episode to have the next episode be some member of the Core 5 clashes with the Sixth Ranger. And we've gone over this multiple times. Like they did it in I think the most recent Sentai that we did was that had that cliche was a Shinkenger, where, Genta shows up in one episode, then the next episode he joins the Shinkengers, and the very next episode is all about him and Ryunosuke kind of clashing with each other. They do it in Gokaiger. Guy shows up, Guy joins the team, and then the next episode is all about him having a complicated relationship with Dawn. So I guess I appreciate them not doing that episode. But yeah, aside from that, there's not much else to talk about. But I'm glad they didn't go with the cliched route.
Especially because he's an easy Sixth Ranger to do that trope with.
that's very true.
Yep. But what do we want to give this episode out of 10, guys?
probably give it an 8. It's still good, but it's not the same quality of stuff we had gotten before this.
See, and it's for that reason that I'm debating a 7.
I'm giving it an 8.
Like, it's still good, but like it fell more into like a category for me. Like, we had some good background, but it wasn't enough to like really keep it at the quality we had before, you know?
Yeah.
And so I don't want to be stagnant with saying, oh, this an 8, everything's an 8, because like we're saying, this isn't quite the same as the stuff we got before. So I'm gonna go with a 7.5 maybe.
Yeah, I think a 7 is good.
Yeah. Well, 7.5 is what I'm giving, not 7. I debated it.
Okay, now let's move on to Bakuage 20, Yesterday Once More, which another filler episode, but a pretty good one. So remember in the first episode when when some guy named Norio was trying to hire Taiya to deliver Mira to him? Well, believe it or not, he's actually not going to be just some random one-off character that they're going to discard after that. He comes back in this episode. He teams up with the Hashirians because he wants to take her back. Um, it's ultimately, a filler because it ends with him realizing that Mira is meant to be with the Boonboomgers, and then he just kind of moves on. Um, the only other thing to note, although it doesn't really play anything in the remainder of these episodes, is that at least in the episodes we're reviewing in this batch, that is that at the beginning of the episode we see Sakito and Bune going around trying to promote their fixer slash cleaner slash pitman type of service, which Ichiro is kind of suspicious of. But yeah, so that kind of defines what he's kind of doing. I don't know. Riz kind of said that Sakito seems like the Sentai Ranger equivalent to Deadpool, and I think that's kind of what he is. But yeah, what do we think about this episode?
I have some mixed feelings on this one because one, I'm glad they actually went back to this thing of Mira having an ex-fiance and to see how that whole thing impacted him and everything. But I wish this was a story arc and not a one-off filler episode.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Because this had the potential to be something really interesting. Having a human end up being like taken in by the Hashirians and having ties to one of the Boonboomger. This really should have been like a 3 or 4 episode mini arc. That's my biggest complaint with this.
And I almost forgot this guy existed until like they remind me, oh, that's Mira's ex. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, for sure. I'm kind of surprised that they even bothered bringing him back. I mean, I still like the episode for what it is, but yeah, honestly, it might have lost a little bit of stock now. The more I think about it, listening to what Patrick has to
Oh,
say
and
about it.
let's
Because I
not.
mean, I genuinely did like the episode though, but yeah.
I think here's my issue with it is that like Patrick said, it was like a one off, and plus that Mira has absolutely no idea that her ex was the one responsible for all this. For all she knows, this creature was just like, oh, he wants me. Why does this specific creature want me for? Like, what did I do? Like,
Yeah, even before, yeah, that really bugged me. Riz, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I'm conflicted on Patrick's conflicting opinion because I honestly thought the episode was pretty awesome to see him come back. Like, Norio coming back was a nice little nod to the first episode, and just because it ended the way it did doesn't mean we're not going to see Norio again in some other matter before the end of the season. Like, he might pop up again as a recurring, episode 35, for example. I don't know. It could happen. So I get the point. I just think my opinion, because I do agree with what you're saying, but I wouldn't run out and judge it for that yet. not until Boonboomger's over and we see like what they actually end up doing with the story. Because if they end up using him in other ways in the future, that's one thing. Because now that the Hashirians know Norio exists, they could come up with a plan later to corrupt him and make him part of the group, or to do something else with him to compromise the team. So there's still potential for something to happen. I don't know what'll happen, if anything will, but I'd rather hold off that judgment until the end.
And I think that's fair.
Because I genuinely liked the episode. I found myself laughing the entire time. It was a great episode.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I think I think what the reason why I did like this though is because I genuinely like, even though I'm now kind of seeing that flaw that Patrick gave it, I would still say I like it because Mira is just a great character. And, giving a little bit of like what she was like before she became a Boonboomger, where, she had some self confidence issues when she was friends with Norio, but now she's much more confident and driven today. Uh, Simple stuff, but I mean, Mira's a great character, so I can't complain that much. But what do we want to give this out of 10, guys?
I'm gonna give this an 8.
I'm going with 8.5.
I want to give it a 9 because the concept of the episode is something I really, really like. I just,
Missed potential.
I've already said my piece on. Yeah, I feel like it was missed potential, but again, I hope it would be nice if they ended up revisiting this later, like you said, Riz. I don't know how effective it would be, but
Oh, she'd kill him. Oh, she would definitely kill him. I mean, I would.
Yeah. But I'm actually going to agree with Patrick and give it a 9.
Yeah, I'm going to end up back at a 9. I was giving it 8.5, but I think I'm getting too harsh on what Patrick was saying, because that's where the 0.5 came off of it for. This is definitely in the 9 territory.
All right, now let's move on to Bakuage 21 Flaming Delivery, which is all about Boon Boon wanting to help Taiya achieve a childhood dream. Big thing that happens here is that Boon Boon is cleaning up the basement with Ishiro and Mira, and he comes across some old childhood drawings that Taiya did as a child. At the end of the episode, we find out that the drawings were a bunch of them, but one of them is him being a firefighter, and believing that this is Taiya's dream. Boone decides to create a new weapon from a fire extinguisher called the Zoom Zoom Shaka Blaster, which is a fire extinguisher like weapon that can transform him into a power up mode, which only he can use, called Bun Red 119. The 119 is the number in Japan that they call for the fire department. And as you can tell, this is a firefighter themed power up mode for Bun Red. So, yeah, before we talk about the episode, what do we think about the design of this power up, guys?
I have not. I'm not a fan of it, to be honest with you, because it seems to break away from that race car kind of motif we've been kind of having. But at the same time, we have had, the police car for Zoe and the builder and all that. So I get why this makes sense, but I'm a little tired of seeing fire trucks be brought in for these kind of seasons.
Well, I don't think they're always brought in. Well, okay,
they're brought in for Car Ranger.
Because their secondary set of mechs they had Red Race.
Lightspeed had something too, right?
Yeah, Lightspeed did.
I don't think Go-Onzer did, and
Go-Onzer didn't, but Bokinger did, because Bokin Silver's main mech was a big giant fire truck.
Yeah, so I mean, it just seems like anytime you have a season with car-like vehicles, because that's what, end of the day, that's what Goggle 5 and Bokinger were. They were vehicle-based Sentai. Not in the
Yes.
same vein that, we had Turbo or Car Ranger or Goanzer, where it's a very heavy car influence, but nonetheless, the car influence is there in these other seasons.
Yeah.
And so I kind of wish we had gone for something more racy, like a more souped up suit for, I don't know, turbocharged Boom Boom Red or something. That could have been really cool to me.
Yeah. And also, I I knew I was gonna dislike this when I first saw it. This is just a personal gripe with mine. This reminds me the design of this, and to be fair, it's because he's also a Red Ranger, so he can't necessarily help it. But this reminds me too much of the a common rider, a secondary rider that I really don't like. Common Rider
Oh,
Oxel, and Anthony can back me up
I
with
know where
that.
this is going.
I really, yeah, I really don't. I hate that character, and when I see this on screen, I just get reminded of
That's
him.
crazy because I can't
It,
stand his wife. So that
oh yeah, that's one reason why. That's another reason why I can't stand his character. You actually have so little self respect that you'll get married to that woman, dude. You
I
got
don't
some
even hate him. That's the
issues.
crazy part. I don't even hate him. I find him okay because I mean he had a compelling backstory, but I mean like other than that, he's just kind of just meant to me. It's like, but you hate him? Like okay, didn't know that.
Yeah, but it's not just the character. I mean, the design of his suit was also just always weird to me, and it's the same here. And I guess I don't mind it too much. I mean, I guess the whole firefighter thing is kind of a cute little thing for the kids, but yeah, I do agree with Riz that it kind of throws a big wrench into the whole you know, racing theme, because like in the past when we get power-ups it's always consistent with the theme. Like
Yeah.
when like in Deca Ranger their power-up mode was SWAT mode. Well, they're cops. A SWAT team is part of cops, so it makes sense for them to have someone based on that. And then like with other ones it's just generic, like, oh, they get like, you know like Jungle Master mode and Jungle Fury, how okay they've upgraded it so their suits change, but it's not like necessarily a different type of martial arts. It's just how they upgrade it. So yeah, I I'm not really a big fan of this. It doesn't hurt Taya as a character, but they could have done something better for the design of this power up
So
mode.
And also, sorry, Anthony, I just want to make this
go
real
ahead.
quick point and we can have the floor. But I just want to say, I also found the ending of the episode kind of. Is weak the right word here? Y'all let me know what you think. But I think it was a weak ending by saying, oh, Taya's dream is that he has a lot of different dreams, including being a firefighter. And that's why he got this new power up. Like, if we're gonna if we're gonna get him to have his power up, at least have it mean something more than one of the many.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't a big fan of that either. Like, it just didn't make sense to me. Like, why would you say, hey, Homeboy has many different things that he has dreams for, but here's one we're going to make a power up for, but not the others? Like, what if another dream of his is to be a rocket scientist or something? Why didn't he get like a rocket shaped like theme for his suit or something? Like,
Yeah.
it just seemed kind of a way to weaken that moment as well.
And it also
And honestly, the more I think about it, I think the better power up that I would have ideally done, and this might seem a little weird since he also becomes a main mech, but at the same time it could be kind of similar to the power up mode that they use in Go Busters with the Buddy Roids. Why not have his dream just legitimately be to like, win the Grand Prix with Boom Boom, and then have his power up mode be something where he combines with Boom Boom and like gets Boom Boom as like some mini armor or something like that.
that would have been cool. Oh, but I need to ask this real quick. So the numbers 119, is that the emergency call for specifically for firefighters, or is it just okay?
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Patrick, did you want to add anything about this?
I'm gonna sound a little bit repetitive here, but to bounce off of Riz's point that this episode kind of got lazy with the explanation, this also should have been a mini story arc. Because
Yeah. If anything,
because
this definitely should have been.
yeah, because the idea, because I think more so than the last one. The last one is like a personal thing. I would have loved to have seen that as a story arc, but I don't know if it would have been necessary. This really felt like it needed to be a story arc because it felt like they just threw in some random thing to kind of excuse why it's based off of a firefighter. And I actually dig the design and the concept of it. It looks kind of cool where he's wearing like a fireman's helmet and his gun is a fire extinguisher with a blaster on the end of it. I don't know. I find that funny. But
Yeah.
like it felt so haphazardly thrown into the story. And
Yeah.
with it being, I guess, supposed to be a character moment for Taiya, at least make it a two-parter or something. Because we do have, like, I mean, technically this is a three-parter, but the next couple of episodes just introduce the mech, and then the mech's, like, animal form or something. Those don't really add anything to Taiya's character. This needed to be, like, a two-parter to at least establish the form. Because I think, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Kyoryuger did a pretty good job of this with Carnival.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Carnival made sense.
Yeah.
Because they had him go through that, like, animalistic dinosaur phase for an episode or something, or was that in Dino Charge?
It was both.
No, that
was
was
in Kyoryuger.
That was in Kyoryuger? Yeah. So they had some build up to it where it was like, well, here's Mini Tira all of a sudden. And, like, King had to go through something and kind of had, like, a moment for Carnival to have payoff. And that's honestly why his first appearance was so effective. But this was just like, it felt like last minute. And it needed a little bit more time to have some build up to it. Because, yeah, I don't know, it just felt hollow. And I hate that.
Yeah, in general, Sentai in general is kind of hit and miss when it comes to new power up form debuts, and this is definitely a miss. Like every now and then, like Kyoryu Red Carnival was handled pretty good.
Yeah.
I I Deca Ranger SWAT mode was handled okay, but and I guess to be fair, the super mode in Shinkenger was also handled good, but then there's ones that a bunch of them are literally only one episode. Like I remember the Maji Ranger Legend mode. I think was only one episode. Like as much as that's better than Mystic Force. If there's one thing that Mystic Force did better than Maji Ranger, it's the debut of that Legend mode because that's one of their better episodes. In Ghost Sager, that Ultra mode thing is only introduced in one episode. And then there's another Sentai that I'm not going to mention at the risk of making Riz have an aneurysm.
The
but...
Lights of Ginga modes were built up really well. I know I know that we had some issues with the entire arc of it, but it did have proper build up.
Yeah, so it's hit and miss, but this one is probably safe to call it one of the misses.
Yeah, then the reason I brought up Kyoryu Carnival specifically is because this was a red only form like his. And man.
But to kind of piggyback off of that, did we generally already kind of given what we think about the episode in general, though?
I do want to make one more side comment regarding the suit. This would have been a whole lot better in the Sentai equivalents of Lightspeed Rescue.
Oh, for sure.
Like, this could have been a great type of, like, power for the Red in that season, because given Carter's, like...
I hate that battleizer.
I don't like the Lightspeed battleizer. I don't like a lot of the Lightspeed weapons, to be honest with y'all, but I think
this type
Chad
of motif... Joel's would look a lot better, because they were actually, like... It makes sense.
Yeah, but Carter's is garbage, man.
Yeah.
But this could have been what Carter needed.
And Carter was a firefighter, so it would
Right.
have worked for him
Mhm.
It would have
perfectly.
been perfect,
Yeah.
but they didn't do it there, and they're doing it here. I know it's a different company, a different, franchise end of the day, but it could have been.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my thoughts. I don't know what I'm gonna do for the score yet. Y'all go ahead, and I'm gonna think about this for a sec.
I mean, even though I agree that it has problems as, with, it needing to be a multi-part episode, it's still it's still a great episode for Boom Boom. I mean, he's still a great
Oh yeah.
character, so I don't want to rank it too low. I'm probably thinking either a 7.5 or an 8.
I was gonna go with a 7 end of the day, I think, for this one.
I
And here comes Patrick ready to bomb it.
mean, I don't know where I want to put the score for this one, honestly. I'm kind of going back and forth between a 7 and an 8 myself.
If it helps you, Patrick, I was debating a 6 and a 7 earlier.
I don't know if it was 6 bad,
No.
but
It's a 7.
Well,
It's a 7 for me.
I mean, what's in here is still, Boom Boomger quality, but it just misses the mark a little bit. So I'd probably say a 7 is fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is actually pretty disappointing given how, a major new weapon and new form like this, those episodes are usually really good in a season like this, but ugh.
Yeah.
All right, now let's move on to Lion's Flaming Fury, Bakuage 22, where most of this episode is about Taiya trying to save Naito's nephew. Naito was a character who was established in a previous episode. He's this businessman that inspired Taiya to become the delivery guy that he is now. Um, this episode naturally, because this is what Sentai does these days. We are getting an episode. We're getting an introduction of a new mech to go with the power up mode. Boom Boom creates a new Boom Boom car called Boom Boom Leo Rescue. This is a fire truck like mech that has a so it starts off as like one big fire truck, but it can also deploy a fire engine, which can be used to basically it's two different fire trucks. Like it's one with a deployable ladder, and then the other one has a fire hose or something like that, and the whole thing can transform into a lion like mech called Boom Boom Leon, which and it can also combine with the other auxiliary Boom Boom cars to become armored Boom Boom Leon. So yeah, that's what we got. What do we think about this episode, guys?
Eh.
I second Pat's but I'm gonna also add I think this episode hits the mark better than the last one or two have, in my opinion.
I don't know. I kind of feel the opposite. This might be the worst episode of the season so far.
I'm curious on why you think that.
It's more so personal bias because episodes that center around a mech never work. I don't like them. They're just not a personal favorite of mine.
Okay.
Yeah, I can kind of second what Patrick is saying here because here's one issue I had with this episode. Whenever I'm doing the outline for these things, I'm always, usually I'm able to come up with like a sentence and to kind of describe the plot here. I had issues trying to really gauge what this episode was about other than um other than just introducing us to Boom Boom Leon. And I guess they're trying to give Taya some character development by showing him to be a bit more heroic and like him trying to save Naito's nephew, but even then we don't see that character enough.
Yeah.
It doesn't really show it doesn't really further Taya's character or even really focus on him enough in this to make it really stand out.
That's what I'm saying. The mecha is like the primary focus of this episode, and personally, episodes that do that in Sentai history are almost never good to me.
The more I listen to y'all, I think I'm gonna agree with y'all about this. You're right.
Yeah.
And
And
then
and bouncing off of Nate's point, this tries to be another one of those episodes where Taiya does something for for a kid to make him happy and everything, but that subplot gets tossed aside like 5 minutes into the episode, and it's never really, and doesn't really take over the main focus of the episode again. And it's just kind of like, oh well, they just happen to be in trouble when I'm using the mech now.
yeah.
So it just feels like just like a shallow, poor attempt at a good Boonboomger episode.
The other thing I will say that I didn't like, this goes back to what we talked about with Taiya's general firefighter motif for the power up. Why is the dang thing a lion?
Yeah, why is it a
I
lion?
don't have a clue. I don't have a clue.
Like, okay, I understand he's a firefighter. That's a dream of his. That fine. Okay. We'll ignore the fact he had many other dreams. That's a fine dream. That's a fine power up in that scenario. That's fine. But how does a lion relate to a fire truck or a firefighter?
I don't know. This mech, in my opinion, is one of the most confusing. To kind of go on with like my thoughts here, it's really confusing here because like it starts off as a fire truck, then it becomes a lion. I mean, I guess it's kind of unique that it doesn't get its own like mech formation, but
It kind
the
of
alternative.
did.
You want to know what's crazy? How I could have made everything tie into them having to make Boonboomger Robo have a flying form. Make this thing's animal form a phoenix.
Yes.
Yeah, that would make more sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the lion. Okay, when I was watching the episode, I kept thinking about Gao Lion.
I kept
Yep.
thinking of Geki Red's tiger because it did that. Was that the one that had like the sword as the tail and it like spun around?
It wasn't a sword. It was more or less like a 3-pronged
No,
weapon.
What
no,
mech
I
am
think he's talking about. I think he's talking about the wolf, the purple wolf
Yes,
mech.
Oh,
Galvi,
but you said
Galviolet.
red. That
Yeah,
was what was throwing me off.
Yeah, I couldn't remember which Geki Ranger mech it was, but yeah, it was Geki Violet's wolf thing. It reminded me of that when it was fighting, and I mean that's cool. It makes it different, but like, yeah, why is it a lion?
Yeah, and it reminded me of Gallowline too. I'm glad that I'm not the only one who thought that because there was one shot after it defeated the
Yeah,
monster
that did
where
look
it,
like on the mountainside on
Yeah.
whatever the heck it was called, a
yeah,
Cow Ranger.
yeah, the animarium
Yeah,
in
the
the wild
Animaria.
forest.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It becoming a lion. I mean, I don't know. This is one of the weirdest Sentai mechs I've ever seen, and it's not in a good way.
Yeah, I just don't like the lion mech at all. It
Yeah.
like okay, so we've had Gao Lion. We had the lion in whatever oh god. Why am I blanking on the name? Hurricaneser.
Yep.
And who else had a lion?
Live Man had a lion.
Okay.
The Yellow Rangers mech, even
That's
though it was kind
true.
of an old.
I remember that
Technically,
now.
Shinken Red did also.
Technically, but I don't count those as like an animal though. They're more origami.
And it
thing.
did breathe fire, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
but,
we just don't know anything.
Do we want to count Goanger since Go On Blues was a lion bus?
No, that's a car.
Yeah, it's a bus with a
It's a
lion
car.
face on it.
Yeah,
Oh, Gingaman had a lion.
you're right.
Yes,
But okay,
Leon.
so Ginga
Fire
Leon.
again.
Okay, so Ginga Leon, Gao Red are all fine lion mechs. They look good. They act right. I'm okay with mixing fire and lion. It makes sense to me in my weird brain. But
Yeah.
Boonboom Leon, I don't know, man. Like, he just doesn't look good. Like, it looks like a poor attempt at CGI to me.
And I mean, are they trying to invoke a little bit of Goanger by having like animal
Mm.
cars? again? Because
I mean, two of the mechas they openly admitted were inspired by Speedor, so
yeah, but
Yeah,
those were cars with just some slight animal features. There's a difference between that and a car that transforms
yeah, I don't
into
know.
an
yeah.
animal, and they've done that before because they did that in Go Busters, but I don't know, it worked a little bit better in Go Busters, at least in my
I agree
opinion.
with that.
But yeah, I'm not a big fan of this Leon mech.
No.
It's just not doing it for me.
No, I don't. This entire 119 arc is not doing it for me.
Yeah,
And
I don't know it. I think the better thing you could have done is just instead of doing the firefighter theme, like I really would have liked it if the mode was just all about Taiya and Boon Boon kind of combining, like Boon Boon kind of becomes like armor for him, kind of like what the Battleizer was in Operation Overdrive, where the Sentinel Knight / Zuban becomes the armor. Which okay, that season sucks, but the Battleizer was actually kind of cool.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Um,
Interesting concept, though. I'll give him that.
yeah, and I don't know, you could have just introduced a new type of mech that's just based on I don't know. You could have come up with some other random type of car idea that you could have had just to be like a standard new like secondary mag, kind of like what VRV Robo was to like RV Robo in Car Ranger.
Mhm.
Like you have the Turbo Megazord and you have the Rescue Megazord. Like, but yeah, what do we want to give 22 out of 10, guys?
Um,
I'm
I'm gonna give it a 7.
probably I'm gonna give it a 6 because I stated this is probably my least favorite episode of the whole season, so I'm gonna rank it the lowest of every
whoa,
episode.
whoa,
we've been
whoa,
doing.
whoa, 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 whoa. Let's rewind that podcast tape a second here, Pat.
Did I rank an episode lower than this?
You said not even 10 minutes ago that you thought episode 21 was the weakest of the season. Now you're saying 22 is the weakest of the season? Make up your mind.
No, I said at the beginning of this episode that this was the weakest.
I thought you said that for 21.
No, I said that for this episode.
Oh, well, in that case.
I actually kind of like the previous episode, even though it's very flawed. This one is the one I don't like.
Okay.
So,
yeah, no, I would agree with the 6 over here for this one.
Yeah, I'm putting it at 6.
Yeah.
I think this is the worst episode, so I'm going to rank it the worst. Because I know I haven't given anything less than a 7 yet.
Yeah. No, this is definitely 6.
Yeah.
Oh, and the one thing I'll say about this episode though that did actually kind of make me laugh a little bit is that there's a point where Joe is asking Boon Boon to give him his own power up, and I can't remember what
It
numbers
was
he gives, but then
110.
Ichiro says, "Okay, yeah," and then Ichiro says, "No, give me mine, and it'll be called Boon Blue 007," and then they do a little James Bond.
Oh yeah,
That was
that
funny.
visual gag was hilarious.
Yeah,
Boon Blue's suit in a tuxedo was hilarious.
That's awesome. Yeah, so it's not entirely bad, but by Boonboomger standards, which Boonboomger has kind of brought itself up to a pretty high standard.
Yeah.
It
So
doesn't
I'm
meet
not gonna
those.
be too upset about this because, like I said, even King Oger had like 1 or 2 like episodes in it. So this is the first real dud that this season has given us. And what is this episode? This is episode 22.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, going 22 episodes before you hit your first L is pretty good.
Yep.
So
Now let's move on to the last episode on this batch, Bakuage 23, Flaming Baseball Adversity, which pretty much what happens here is that Joe is coaching a team of kids on a baseball team. Then the Hashiran show up and ruin it, and he challenges them to a baseball game, and the Boom Boomers all get into a big baseball game, and also Boom Boomger Robo can combine with Boom Leo Rescue to form Boom Boomger Robo 119. What do we think about this one, guys?
Okay, I'm going to start off by saying I'm ignoring the mech combination for a few minutes because I don't really care. about that.
Yeah.
But I do want to say that this is the wacky stuff that I love in this Sentai.
Yep.
Just have a baseball game, let them break all the rules, let them have the ball kind of float in the sky, and then like just kind of go zipping around the field to make it so that the Hasurians are seeding, and then have the Boonboomzers return to seeding by zipping around the field doing their thing. It's just wacky good fun. I can't be angry at this episode. I love this kind of stuff.
It was fun. I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love sports themed Super Sentai episodes. There's an episode of Kyoryuger, one of the best ones, where the whole team is playing
That was a good one.
basketball against one of the monsters. Like this is no exception. I love that this takes full advantage. This might be one of my favorite Sentai sports themed episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
anyone-
especially for me, who's a big baseball fan in general. Seeing this was just it was just one of those just fun turn off your brain and just to enjoy the stupidity episodes, and I welcome that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did anyone else? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say is that did anyone else like really like groan when they saw freaking Joe get hit with that baseball? I was like, ooh, that looked painful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen enough instances in actual MLB games where that instance happened. He got off lucky.
Really?
Oh yeah, when people take line drives off their face, sometimes it's career ending. He got off lucky with just a bruise. So I've seen much worse.
Wow.
Yeah, and I would say that the thing that made me laugh a lot is that they give like this whole like big like on pitcher we got Boonboomger and they go through that whole lineup and they got everyone, they got all 6 Boonboomgers, they got our 2 favorite alien robot racers, and they even got Shirabe on there, and then the Hashirians all come out, and then the announcer says, "Here are the Hashirians." But we don't have time to announce them name by name, and they're all like, "Ugh."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Although, the one issue I have is that I get the feeling that they wanted to make this a Joe episode, considering he's the one who challenged them to a baseball game, and the whole motivation behind this episode is he wanted to help kids, and the Hashirians screwed with them. So, but then Taya and Sakito kind of take over a little bit. I kind of wish that Joe got more of the spotlight at the end, but it's not a huge nitpick. It's still a fun episode overall.
Yeah.
So, what do we want to give this episode?
9.
9.
Yeah, it's a 9 for me.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, that wraps up this. So, we don't really have to talk about the Hashirians so much, but we're approaching the halfway point. In fact, we'll probably be over halfway when we're done with the next one. So do we kind of want to give some updates on? It doesn't necessarily. You can still hold your rating of Sekito since he's only been around for like 5 episodes, but do we want to give any updates on like the tier rankings we would give for the main 5?
I think mine are the same.
Mine are actually the same too.
Yeah, I mean this string of episodes didn't really push anything forward. I know that there was some episodes here that were intended to push Taiya forward, but they didn't work.
No, they weren't that helpful to
So
Taiya.
like I think everybody was kind of stagnant during these batch of episodes.
Okay, I think that's fair.
Yeah. Sakito is also still too new for me to really have an opinion on.
Yeah, and he also didn't really do much in this batch anyway.
No, he didn't. He was kind of there.
But it's still, pretty good how, we're almost halfway through the series and we're only only like 1 or 2 of these episodes was truly kind of but then we finished off with a genuinely fun, wacky type of episode. So there's not too much to complain about with the Sentai overall.
Yeah.
But with that said, anybody else want to give their closing thoughts before we finish up here?
Boom! Boom, boom! Boom, boom, boom!
That's not closing thoughts. That's just
All right. Well,
Boom
anyway,
Boom would understand that, Patrick.
he would.
You just are not at that level yet. Sorry.
All right, but with that said, that wraps up our 6th podcast on Boonboomger. Next time, in the 7th one, we'll be taking a look at everything up until 28. And at that point, we will be mostly caught up. As of the recording of this, Bakuage 29 just aired literally yesterday, actually. So we will so we'll pick up from there. But yeah, we got one more Boonboomger podcast to cover of 24 through 28. And then we will be ready to go on to another Sentai, if you know what I mean, huh?
That was too easy.
Nate.
I know.
But I'm glad you took advantage of the opportunity.
Exactly.
I'm going to
Well,
need you to
that's it.
go on over into the corner and think about what you've done.
Yeah.
Don't pretend like you wanted to take in that stupid dad joke too, Riz.
I'm just mad I didn't do it.
But yeah, we definitely got a lot more fun stuff planned for you guys. We're I don't know about everybody else, but I'm definitely looking forward to revisiting Go Onger. And we will see you guys next time when we return to finally officially catch up to Boonboomger. But until then, bye for now. If you enjoyed listening to the Toku Secrets podcast, please check us out at animesecrets.org and follow us on all our social media pages such as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And also feel free to check out our other podcasts, including Anime Declassified and the Jedi Squadron. You can also leave us any feedback you'd like to offer us directly on our website. If you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, we thank you so much, and please leave us a rating out of 5 stars. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel if you're not already subscribed, and leave any comments down below, as we love to take the time to read comments left on our channel and give our fans, shout-outs. If you have any seasons of Super Sentai, Power Rangers, or other tokusatsu shows that you'd like for us to check out, please don't hesitate to say so in your feedback. With all that said, we thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our podcast, and we will see you next time as we continue our never-ending journey through the world of tokusatsu. But until that time, you all stay safe, we love you, and may the power protect you.